Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Hit List Podcast, the show where Pokemon nostalgia meets today's collecting culture. I'm your host, Big Mike, and every week we're going to be diving into our favorite cards, the stories behind the art, and the memories that help shape us as collectors. From legendary pulls to the hits that got away, we're going to be reliving the chase and celebrating everything that makes the Pokemon TCG so much more than just a game. I think an important part to start this off is to allow you guys to get to not only know me as a person, but know me as a collector. So going back to my first memories of opening Pokemon, it would actually have to go back to when I was a kid going to the mall with my grandparents. They used to take us into this little store. It's kind of like a dollar store. It had a lot of cheap toys and whatnot, but they also had Pokemon packs up front. I remember my sister and I getting them, and I don't particularly remember getting anything super incredible, but I do remember her getting a Charizard. Funny story, I remember her having that Charizard, and if I remember correctly, she stored it under her mattress. It's crazy to think how, when we were kids, these little pieces of art became such a collector's piece that we not only held close to our hearts, but engaged with other kids our age and traded. And it wasn't ever about money. It wasn't about value. It was about what we thought was cool and what resonated with us. One of the things I want to talk about on this channel is readdressing that as adults and reconnecting, more importantly, with the fact that this isn't just about value. This is about what makes you happy and what makes your collection stand out to you. Of course, we're going to cover things such as value, such as grading, such as how to maintain your cards and whatnot. But I think it's also important to show appreciation to some of those cards that may not have the huge price tag on it, but are works of art nonetheless. I think, like anybody else, I didn't collect Pokemon this entire time. I remember at some point when I was a kid, my friend group decided to get away from Pokemon and move toward Yu-Gi-Oh! And I collected it for about a year or so. We played the game, but it really wasn't the same for me. But, I kind of dropped collecting after that for a while until I'd say probably around 2014 when a coworker introduced me to the game Magic the Gathering. I played Magic the Gathering to the point where it got competitive, and during that time, I actually rediscovered Pokemon to a point, but I didn't really follow it. At that point, I created a deck, played with a couple locals, but I didn't really pay attention to the art or anything because I was so sucked into Magic at that point. For Magic, I played until, I'd say probably 2016, 2017, and I kind of just dropped it all together and moved on with my life away from collecting any form of TCG for a while. I ended up rediscovering Pokemon in, I'd say it was late August 2024, when I went to Sam's Club and I saw the, now famous Sea and Sky boxes that contained 14 packs of Crown Zenith, which looking back is one of the best sets ever made in the Pokemon TCG. So from that point on, every time I went to Sam's Club, I looked to see if they had a box. And at that point, the Pokemon TCG hadn't really blown up again. So, yeah, they were available, and I started to see that, wow, I have a lot of this set, but it really opened my mind to check to see what are these other sets that are going on right now. Can I get this at Target? Can I get this at my local card store? And that brings in the next chapter of my collecting, and honestly, what ended up being a very big part of this journey for me. It's ironic that I'm filming this on September 26th of 2025, when exactly 1 year ago today, I hop into a stream by this wonderful Pokemon shop called The Pokepost out of Shawnee, Kansas. There's a streamer there with a beanie on who I didn't know at the time, but his name was Jack. A guy who every time he went through a pack, whenever there was a big hit, he told the entire chat about this artist and the other cards they did, and it really opened up a new part of the collecting for me, the appreciation of the artist, which I take to me today. Through them, I was able to meet Kalen, another streamer who was streaming during the day, and showed me the exciting side of this, where every pack, every great reaction just fueled the want to get more, the want to be part of this wonderful community. So when I started becoming a regular in there and getting to know everybody and really getting appreciation for what the TCG had become, that's when I think this evolved into something more than just grabbing some cards at Sam's Club, and I knew this was going to be a big part of my life for years to come. So after a while of being an active community member at the PokePost, I ended up getting into grading. I ended up sending out a 6-card PSA order, and I remember getting back my first couple 10s, 9s, and an 8 that to this day I still have no idea why I got an 8. But that started really building my collection into something else. And I remember just every Tuesday, Kalen going around the shop on Slabby Patty Tuesday and looking at these different slabs from different companies and the Pokemon cards from different eras, and just starting to see things that I didn't even know existed. Cards that were from 10 years ago, cards that were from 5 years ago. And remember, I only got into this about a year ago to truly, grasp it. So at this point in time, I had, I don't know, a month or two of experience of trying to figure out what the heck's going on. So I'm being bombarded with all these different cards from all these different eras. And by January or so, I started to get really overwhelmed. At that point, I almost gave up collecting Pokemon forever because I felt that overwhelmed by it. I remember talking to Jack and Kalen about it, and they had been there before where they thought it was too much, and it really, really helped to hear them tell me, why don't you try and focus down and focus on collecting something specific. So from that point on, I really started to get into Japanese cards because, apart from their cost to get into it being much lower than English, the quality is just unbelievably different. The English cards are wonderful, and it's awesome that they have high value, and obviously you can read everything on them, but as a collector who really appreciates the art, I moved into collecting Japanese, and I did a technique that's called master setting, where you go through each set and get every single card and put them in order, and that's called a master set. So when I started doing that, I started regaining a new appreciation for the cards that I already knew, and the cards that were coming out. As they came out, I was able to get them in Japanese and start working on my master sets. That really saved me in collecting because it gave me a new purpose. The reason I'm bringing this up is whether you're a new collector or one that's been doing this for a long time, I'm sure you've had those points where it just felt like it was too much and you didn't know what you were really collecting anymore. I was there, and I'm going to talk through this series here about all the different ways that you can focus in and keep the love and fire for collecting alive. I think it's really important to keep that in mind because the last thing we want is for people to get out of this hobby feeling as if they really didn't truly appreciate it in the end. So apart from collecting Japanese master sets, the other things that I'm collecting right now would have to be Cosmos Holo promos. Typically they're from 3-pack blisters, but they can be from a lot of different things. And I also collect vintage Japanese, specifically in PSA 9s. I know why not go for the PSA 10, but when there's a very, very big price difference for cards that are in wonderful condition, I'm going to go with the 9 and have some of these really nostalgic cards that even in English as a PSA 9 would be astronomically higher. So that's another appeal of collecting Japanese, and that's why I got into it. And I'm sure a lot of the community of the PokePost will tell you that I have a lot of appreciation for the Japanese cards, and I love sharing that information that I have and getting more people into collecting Japanese. The only other thing that I'm really collecting right now is art rares and special art rares from my favorite artists, which Jack and I have this conversation probably once a month, but I think my top artists really haven't changed. So one of the things I really want to do on this channel is maybe get each one of you to have your own favorite artist by the end of this. My personal favorite artist as of right now, and it hasn't changed in a while, is Hiro Susumu. And my favorite card, I'll put it up here on the left here, is the Altaria full art from Paradox Rift. He also did the Leafeon V-Star from Crown Zenith, amongst many other cards that just have a style that I really resonate with. But there's so many artists out there with their own unique style, and I want every single one of you to be able to find and connect with that style by the time this whole thing is over. So now that you all know a little bit about my collecting journey, I hope that my knowledge and experience can help you on your own. On this channel, we're going to be able to go and talk to collectors, store owners, and other members of the community so that we can get a full view as to all the different parts of the TCG and gain an appreciation for not only art, but maybe how the businesses are run, how collections work for each and every person, and what this really means to everybody. Thank you all for being part of the first episode of the Hit List podcast. I'm Big Mike, and I cannot thank you enough for being here. I want you all to remember to keep chasing hits, but never, ever lose the magic of that first pull. See you next time.